They say that there was a huge land in the Pacific, far, far away, and that it was destroyed in a flood cataclysm, and that there were survivors, specifically 7 wise men. That's another thing that is found all around the world. Specific 7 wise men who came after this great cataclysm.
Have you ever wondered where the first spark of civilization truly came from? What if I told you that long before Egypt raised its pyramids and long before Sumer etched the first cuneiform, there was another world? A world that vanished almost entirely, leaving behind only fragments, myths, and whispers. Across ancient cultures, from the temples of India to the pyramids of Mexico, stories emerge of 7 wise men. Mysterious figures who brought knowledge, order, and civilization after a great catastrophe. Who were they? And more importantly, what were they trying to preserve? This is not mythology. This is the hidden history of humanity.
They also refer to these individuals as being bearded. They often refer to there being 7 of them. In ancient Mesopotamia, they're called the 7 sages. In ancient Egypt, at the Temple of Horus at Edfu, they are also referred to as the 7 sages. In ancient India, it's Manu and the 7 sages who appear after the flood, trying to restore the knowledge that was lost during the time of the flood.
The number 7 is deeply embedded in mythologies around the world, and not by coincidence. In ancient India, the Saptarishi, 7 sages, are said to have received divine wisdom to guide mankind. In Mesopotamia, they appear as the Apkallu, fish-cloaked beings sent by the god Enki to civilize humanity after a flood. In Greece, echoes of this can be found in the 7 sages of antiquity. And in the Andes, Viracocha is said to have arrived with bearded companions to restore civilization. Even in the Pacific, Polynesian navigators speak of ancestral wise figures who came from the sea, teaching astronomy and the stars. These are not isolated stories. They're part of a pattern, a memory, of survivors from a lost world. Roughly 12,800 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, something catastrophic occurred. The younger Dryas, a sudden global freeze, brought chaos. Megafauna died out. Sea levels rose dramatically.
The younger Dryas really ticks all the boxes as a worldwide disaster, which definitely involved sea level rise, both at the beginning and at the end of the younger Dryas. It definitely involved the swallowing up of lands that previously had been above water. And I think it's an excellent candidate for this worldwide tradition of a global cataclysm, of which one of, but not the only, distinguishing characteristics was a flood, an enormous flood, and the submergence of lands that had previously been above water, underwater. The fact that this story is found all around the world suggests to me we know there was a nasty epoch, the younger Dryas, when flooding did occur and when the earth was subjected to events cataclysmic enough to extinguish entirely the megafauna of the Ice Age.
Hancock argues that this was the moment a global civilization was erased. Not Atlantis in the mythic sense, but an advanced seafaring culture, capable of building, mapping, and teaching.
The great seafaring adventure that is accepted by archaeology is called the Polynesian expansion, and it's a remarkable story, and that occurs roughly 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. And those Polynesians were amazing ocean navigators. They could cross distances of thousands of kilometers with pinpoint accuracy. I mean, it's not an accident that the Polynesians found Easter Island. Finding Easter Island is a really challenging project. Easter Island is 2,000 miles from the coast of South America. It's 2,000 miles from the nearest other island, which is Tahiti. It's just a little speck in the middle of the ocean, but the Polynesians found it and settled there and appear to have brought a reproductively viable population there and appear to have made voyages back and forth. But that was 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. That was not 12,800 years ago. And this is where archaeology's adamant position that ocean voyaging was begun by the Polynesians and that there was no major ocean voyages before that, I think needs to be strongly questioned, and it needs to be strongly questioned in the light of this DNA evidence from the Amazon rather than rejecting the evidence. An attempt should be made to consider what that might mean.
Sites like Gobekli Tepe in Turkey, over 11,600 years old, are proof that someone was building monumental architecture right after this catastrophe. But who? And why did they bury it? The 7 wise men were not gods. They were messengers, survivors, custodians of memory. In myths, they bring writing, agriculture, astronomy, laws, sacred geometry, the foundations of civilization.
They were the same teachers, the teachers that went to all the ancient cultures and brought them the basics for what we've accomplished today.
In India, the Saptarishi taught Vedic rituals and the cosmic order. The Apkallu instructed the Sumerians on canal systems and calendars. In Mexico, Quetzalcoatl brings maize and the calendar to the Toltecs. Everywhere, the same pattern. A civilizing force that appears suddenly, then disappears. Why do ancient megaliths around the world share impossible similarities? Cyclopean stone blocks at Sacsayhuaman, Peru, cut with laser-like precision.
One of the most beautiful ancient structures you will ever see in your life. There are massive, gigantic megalithic blocks, and you find the most amazing of masonry style where you can't even fit a dollar bill in between the fittings of any of the blocks.
Underwater ruins off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan. Alignment of pyramids to Orion's belt in Egypt and Teotihuacan. How could isolated ancient cultures achieve such feats unless they inherited something? Gobekli Tepe, Gunung Padang, Nan Madol. Each site predates the societies that supposedly built them. Each one speaks of a forgotten past. Academic orthodoxy resists these ideas. Why? Because they rewrite everything. They challenge the linear model, that human history moved slowly from stone tools to civilization in a neat progression. But when archaeologists found 9,000-year-old earthworks in the Amazon, when LIDAR revealed vast city networks hidden beneath jungles, the official story began to crack.
What I see in the Amazon is traces of a lost science, a scientific mindset.
This isn't fantasy. This is the Amazon. And these are the questions Graham Hancock dares to ask. The Amazon basin stretches across 6.7 million square kilometers. It's one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth. But beneath its dense canopy, recent discoveries are shaking the foundation of our historical understanding. In the state of Acre, southwestern Brazil, deforestation revealed something completely unexpected. Shapes, circles, squares, rectangles, and octagons etched into the earth, often spanning hundreds of meters. These aren't modern constructions. They are ancient, possibly thousands of years old. And they're not random. They're precise. The kind of precision you'd expect from engineers, not hunter-gatherers. These are known as geoglyphs, massive geometrical earthworks. But they're not isolated. Researchers have found over 450 of them in this region alone. And that's just what we've uncovered so far. Most of the Amazon remains unscanned, unexplored, and untouched.
These things really, on the old view of the Amazon, shouldn't exist. They involve enormous expenditure of effort. Creating these earthworks is a huge job.
Graham Hancock has been ridiculed, yet many of his once radical claims are now supported by evidence. In many myths, the wise men not only teach, they warn: floods, fire, celestial alignments, the end of ages. Hancock believes ancient myths encode a warning that Earth goes through cyclical cataclysms, possibly triggered by cosmic events, comet impacts, or solar activity. He links this to the precession of the equinoxes, a 26,000-year celestial cycle encoded in myths and monuments. Are we approaching another cycle? What if the 7 wise men were real, not in the literal religious sense, but as symbols of a forgotten network of knowledge bearers? What if humanity had risen high once before and fell?